Isn't it great to have good great
All right, sports fans, we are back for another episode of The Fan in the End. I'm your host, as always, Steven Rychel. Got a full deck for you today. Lots of stuff to kind of go over in the sports world, and we also have a guest for you this morning, Mr. George Visger. Is that correctly?
Visger,
okay. So George is a NFL veteran, from the early 80s. He's also soon to be an official author. He's a TBI CT advocate. He's done a lot of stuff to help bring brain injuries into the forefront in the sports world. So definitely wanted to have some conversations with George today. But before we get into that real quickly, let's get our sponsor read out there. And every episode here on The Fan in the End is brought to you by Fight Wax. Fight Wax is the ultimate skincare product. It helps treat cuts, swelling, scrapes, and abrasions, rejuvenates, and restores stressed skin. Customers have used for soreness, stiffness, and recovery. Designed for athletes of all active lifestyle, it provides an ultra silky, non-greasy feel. Deep hydration for everyday skincare. Helps fight dry skin. Customers have used for skin disorders such as eczema, psoriasis. Make sure you guys are showing them some love. And when you guys get a chance, please use that code SOUTH 15 FW and go get some products by Fight Wax. Other than that, let's get this party started today. Now, obviously, we got George on today. I want to appreciate your time. I guess we'll start this thing off with you. Kind of give us a little background into you, George. Obviously, you played in the league for a few years. Wound up walking away. Did have incur some brain injuries. You've had surgeries. You've been an advocate for the brain injury community. Making sure that the NFL is doing what it needs to do. To take the proper steps with the athletes. I guess kind of tell us a little bit about that battle, and then how did we get started with this book as well. So kick it off for us, my friend.
Okay, I grew up in Northern Cal, played on a great high school team, undefeated. We lost a bowl game my junior year, only game we ever lost. Played at University of Colorado as a freshman, 76. We won the Big Eight and played the old Woody Hayes Ohio State Buckeyes in the 77 Orange Bowl. I was drafted by the Jets, banged heads with Marvin's dad in preseason camp, literally. I was drafted by the Jets in 1980. I was defensive tackle. Got cut at the end of preseason, and the Niners picked me up. And I played with the Niners part of the 80 season. First game, I'm with them, very first play. We're playing the Cowboys. It's a goal line defense, and I get ear hold on a Dallas tight end trap by Doug Cosby, who's now a very close friend of mine years later. But I get ear hold, and from what I was told, I don't remember that game. I don't remember playing the following week against the Rams, but from what I was told during the Dallas game, the trainers and doctors, gave me over 10 or 15 smelling salts. Every time I'd come off the field sideways, they'd give me a handful, and I'd go, pop a couple. And they laughingly told me, a week and a half later, because back then that was the culture. It was you got your bell rung, get back in there. So that was the 80 season. And then I started developing major headaches toward the end of the season, off season. Things were getting really bad. I'm going to see the docs. They sent me to a couple specialists. Go back to camp in 81, and I blew my knee out in camp real early, and then had knee surgery, and I was coming back off of that when my symptoms got to where every night I had these killer headaches. I'd see a ball of light in front of each eye. My hearing would come and go at the beat of my heart. I had a projectile vomiting, literally, and that's a term that they use for intracranial pressure, I found out later on. And I'm telling you, man, when I puked, I could hit the ball from like 20 yards away and chip porcelain. It was like a fire hose. So I go see the team docs who had already goofed up on my knee, and they tell me it's high blood pressure. So for 2.5 weeks, I'm taking high blood pressure pills when my brain's hemorrhaging, and I'm getting worse and worse. And then we played Chicago that day, and I was rooming with two guys on the team, Terry Totolo and Scott Stouch. But I didn't play in the game. Like I said, I was on injury reserve with knee surgery. I just had knee surgery in camp. And finally, I mean, we go out after the game. I had some friends come in from Stockton, where I grew up, which is only a couple hours from the Bay Area. We all go out afterwards, about, 10, 11, 12, whatever it is. And my symptoms would be I could get up in the morning with a headache, and I was functioning, but it would just get worse and worse. And every evening I'd start this whole losing my eyesight, hearing, vomiting. So it was probably midnight. We're out drinking, having a couple beers, and I told everyone, hey, I'm going to head to the barn, man. I'm getting close to my puking time. So I drive myself back to our apartment, barely getting the door. I'm puking. Anyway, long story short, I keep getting up and down and laying in bed. And those guys come in, after the bars close, after 2. And I was rooming with Terry Totolo and Scott Stouch. And T comes in and says, hey, man, you look like hell. Let me take you to the hospital. And again, I'm blowing him off. It's, the football mindset. Hey, I'm good. So it's getting worse and worse as the hours progress. And those guys came in and checked on me a couple times, Visk, man, let us take you. No. So finally about 4 or 5 in the morning, I get up to puke again, and my right arm does one of these. It curls up across my chest with like a fist under my chin. And I'm grabbing it. I go lay down. I'm grabbing my arm. I can't feel this hand and arm. And I pull my arm out and let go, and it would just curl back up. Now it's probably, 5 or in the morning. I can't see. My head's ready to pop. My hearing is in and out with my beat of my heart. Got this freaking paralysis thing going. And I think I'm dying now. And I literally started praying to God. It's like, you know what? Don't let me go like this. I was hurting. I finally pass out. The day after games are light days. We get up. I woke up an hour or two later, had some coffee with the guys. I could move my arm, but I could barely lift a cup of coffee. We go into the training room. Day after games, you get treatment, a couple of meetings, a light workout, breaking sweat, and then you're out of there. And so I go in and I do my rehab on my knee, and I wait till the team doc who butchered my knee, and I had 2 more surgeries on that a couple of years trying to put it back together. Same guy that 3 of my teammates from the 81 season successfully sued for malpractice. It was ridiculous. So I wait till he sees everyone that got dinged. I walk in his little office in the locker room, and I said, don't freaking tell me it's high blood pressure. And he looks at me and he goes, what now? And I said, don't freaking tell me it's high blood pressure. And he goes, sit down, rolls his eyes. He grabs one of those little flashlights, they're called retinoscopes, looks in my eye, and this is the first sentence of my book. Oh my God, your brain's hemorrhaging. I fly off the table ready to kill him. He's like, no. And I'm just in his face. He starts fumbling around with the phone. He makes a couple calls, and I'm just, chomping at him. And he makes a couple calls, and he writes an address on a piece of paper, hands it to me. He says, go home, lay down, and drive down to Stanford this afternoon and go see this doc. Now, my brain's hemorrhaging. Don't call me an ambulance. So I drove. Our headquarters were in Redwood City, and I was living with Terry and Scott in Foster City. And if I remember correctly, it was probably a 25-minute drive. I drive home to the apartment. I'm hanging out there that day as my head's getting worse and worse. That afternoon, I drive myself to Palo Alto through Bay Area traffic to Stanford to see this doc, Dr. Koenig. He takes one look at me, and they want to do a CT brain scan. But they couldn't get me in for a couple hours. It was busy. And I said, hey, doc, it's getting close to my puking time. I'll come back. And he says, you drove here? I said, yeah, I've been driving like this for weeks. He goes, you can't drive like this. And I said, so I argue with him. He convinces me to hang out in a room for a couple hours. They take me in, do a CT brain scan. I'm taken into emergency brain surgery a few hours later once we get everyone lined out. So I had developed hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain from my concussions. And they drilled a hole in my skull. This is all permanent. I have a tube goes in the middle of my brain. There's a pump back here behind my right ear. There's a tube goes on the side of my neck into my abdomen. And as we're speaking, it's draining spinal fluid out of my brain. Now, when this goes out, I'm in a coma within 24, 48 hours and dead shortly after. So brain surgery, the 49ers go, oh, shit. I'm in intensive care at Stanford for 12 or 14 days. 0 people from the facility come to see me, not even my position coach. The only people that came were Terry and Scott. And they're telling me, Coach Walsh is telling the team I had a spinal test done and I was back in Stockton recuperating at my parents' house. I'm getting phone calls from the trainers and doctors. Hey, Visk, we're going to have a special made helmet. You can keep playing. So again, you guys are athletes. I'm all in, man. Doc, I'm good. I'm going. So before I get out of the hospital 2 weeks later, they cut Terry, who was a 6-year vet, and they shipped Scott to New Orleans. So the only players and team that knew what was going on, they're gone. Now, one day while I'm still in the hospital, I kind of missed one point. I said, no one from the facilities came to see me, check that. So one day a woman walks in and she says, hi, George, how you doing? And she's yakking to me like we're old friends. And I go, who in the hell are you? She goes, I'm Bill's secretary. Bill, and then she goes like this. She passed me on the leg. She goes, Bill Walsh. You remember Bill Walsh? I said, yeah. I go, I remember Bill Walsh. I said, I may be brain damaged. I said, but not stupid. So he had bought me a Sony Walkman, which at the time, I was 22 years old. I'm thinking, wow, man, that's pretty cool. And a couple of tapes. Well, what it was, he didn't want to be seen down at the neurosurgery ward in Stanford. People would ask questions. Any of the coaches seen down there, what are they doing down here? And so no one came. They didn't let any of the team know. And so I get out of the hospital. By the time I get to the hospital, Terry and Scott are gone. I go back to my folks' house for a few days in Stockton to get my feet under me. I come back. I'm on injury reserve. I'm working out all year thinking I'm still playing. As the season progressed, things they started getting weird. First of all, when I had my knee surgery, that was in the paper. Now I have brain surgery, nothing said. And so, I'm kind of thinking, okay, well, I was a nobody in the NFL. I was, blue collar kid, trying to make it. But as the season progressed, man, I'm getting this weird feelings, thinking, are they hiding something? So I'm in the weight room working out one day, and now we're winning. They don't want anybody rocking the boat. We are winning. So I'm in the weight room, getting toward the end of the season, working out with a bunch of guys. And John McVay, our general manager, comes through, and he had like 2 or 3 business couples, husband-wife couples, touring the facilities. So he's introducing people, this is Ronnie Lott, our rookie defensive back. This is George Visger, one of our veteran defensive linemen. He's on injury reserve. He says he had 2 knee operations. And this woman asked me, 2? How'd you have 2? And I said, no, ma'am, I had knee surgery and brain surgery. And McVay, our general manager, looks me right in the eye, and he says, no brain surgery, you had 2 knee operations. With a look like, shut your mouth or you're out of here. Now, keep in mind, in the NFL, it's open season all year. You sign these, you read about these, maybe it's different now, but back then, guy signed a 4-year, $1 million contract. You played 1 game, they cut you, they owed you 1/16 of that first year's salary. The rest is all BS. It's just on paper. So my rookie year, they made 26 roster changes after the final cut day. I was one of them. They brought me in. They had signed a veteran defensive tackle from Baltimore. His name was Crowell, I believe. Played 2 weeks, cut him, bring me in. So it was open door policy, and you didn't want to buck the system or you were gone. So when McVay says, "Oh, he had 2 brain surgery," I looked him and her in the eye, and I dropped a left bomb. I said, "Yeah, you're effing right. I had 2 brain surgeries." I walked right out of the weight room, and now I know I'm not thinking they're covering something up. I walked right up to Keith Fonhorst, and Keith ended up playing years, I believe, at all-pro offensive tackle. And he was our player rep for the Players Union. And I said, "Keith," I said, "I don't know what to do. I feel like I need to talk to somebody legally." And that's all I told him. So he gives me contact with the NFL Players Association. They set me up with a law firm right there in San Francisco. These guys meet with me, this one attorney, and he's looking at, because I skipped a lot on the knee surgery. I blew it out in mini camp, and they drained it probably 3 times between mini camp and when camp started. It would blow out on me every couple of weeks. They drained 60, 70 cc's of blood out of it, tell me it's a sprain. And the last time they're draining it, I asked the doc, the same one that got sued. I said, "Doc, I thought I've had things drained, and usually if the fluid's clear, it's a sprain. If it's bloody, there's something torn." And blood in your knee is a classic symptom of a torn ACL. So he's sucking another 70 cc's of blood out of my knee. And he goes, "Yeah, that's basically true." I said, "What's this?" He goes, "It's a sprain." So, all right, you're the doc, man. And so I lose my train of thought. Where was I before I went back to that? This is what I deal with constantly. I think I was at Stanford. They diagnosed me, brain surgery. Terry and Scott are gone. So I come back to the facility. That's right. Okay, now it's coming back to me. So I talked to Keith Fonhorst. He set me up with a law firm in Frisco. They're going to look at potential malpractice suits on the knee, on the brain, work comp, but mainly malpractice. So we work on this thing for it's going on a year. And now, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we end up going to the Super Bowl, okay? Right before we're leaving, I'm like, man, I would feel better if this thing was out in the paper. I mean, literally, I'm like, what the hell are they covering up? So both my older brothers played college ball. And when we went to the Super Bowl, we got to take 2 guests with us. So I took my dad and my brother Mel. So our oldest brother, Bob, was in Sacramento. And I call him up. I'm like, man, I don't know, but I'm headed for something. So he calls 5 different papers. He calls the San Francisco Chronicle, the Oakland Tribune, the Sacramento Bee, and said, "Hey, I'm a fan." He said, "I was at Stanford early this year in the neurosurgery ward. I met a 49, had brain surgery." Now, that's a story. In Super Bowl, they look for anything, what guys eat for breakfast. And so every one of these papers he called said, well, when he gets to Detroit, we're going to interview him. Now, we're leaving that day to fly back. And the team had been there for a week or so. The injured players, we were there for 5 days. So Bob calls me, goes, "When you get there, you're going to get inundated." I'm like, good. So, of course, in order for any reporters to find out what hotel I'm in, they had to go through the front office. I'm there the whole time. No one talked to me. Now, weird things are happening to me, too. I'm going out like we did, have a few beers at night, and I'd get up in the morning to go to practice. No truck. I'm thinking, no one stole my truck. I start calling people. "Did you see me last night?" "Yeah, you're at such and such a bar. You punched this guy out. You threw a chair through a window." And totally out of character. I mean, I'm not one of those guys. I despise people like that. All of a sudden, and as the months progressed after the Super Bowl, by May, 4 months after the Super Bowl, I'm arrested 3 times. No memory how I go out and have a couple of beers. Next thing I know, several hours later, I'm standing in jail. I have no idea how I got there, what I did, till I got released. So I go back and see the neurosurgeon at Stanford, Dr. Koenig, in May. So Super Bowl was into January. So this isn't like years later. I go back. I said, hey, man, something has happened since your surgery. I said, I have a couple beers and I turn into the kind of people, I said, that I freaking despise. Oh, not from my surgery. I said, well, what's it from? I've been drinking. I started drinking when I was young, and so he does a CT brain scan. And I told him, I said, I'm leaving for Mexico tomorrow to go fishing with my brother Mel and his wife. We were going to rent a little cabin on a beach and fish for a couple of days. And he does a brain scan on me, CT brain scan. He goes, you look fine. I said, what about leaving the country? No problem. Drinking? No problem. We fly to Cabo. I have one margarita at dinner. I start getting pounding headaches. I tell my brother Mel and Nancy, hey, I'm going to go back to the cabin. I'm not feeling good. They stayed out a couple hours. I go back to the cabin. It's the same stuff. I'm puking. They come back. I'm going into a coma. And from this point, after going back to the hotel, the cabin, I have zero memory for the next 16 or 18 months of my life, even to this day. All these are stories that were told to me by my family. So Mel and Nancy come back to the hotel, to the room. My eyes are dilated. I'm incoherent. I can't speak. I'm puking all over the place. I'm moaning. My head's going to pop. So Mel calls our brother Bob in Sacramento. Bob calls Dr. Agee, an orthopedic surgeon that had operated on Bob's arm. The orthopedic surgeon calls Dr. Cobb, a neurosurgeon friend of his. Cobb's telling Agee, your friend is dying. Do not let him operate in Mexico. You got to get him home. Agee calls Bob. Bob calls Mel. So they try to get me home. And my poor brother Mel, for years, if I wanted to just push him over the edge, all I have to say was, hey, Mel, I hear the Dorado are running to Cabo. We should go fishing. And he would literally get sick to his stomach. So here was the story. They get me in a taxi. I'm just puking, moaning, can't see. They get me to the counter, but I could walk around. He would hold me by my hand. He said, airlines look at me. They said, this guy isn't flying. So we missed a flight. Mel's calling Bob, but, we miss another flight. Finally, I don't know what the federales of all people told Mel, if you don't get on the next flight, we'll get you a private plane. So we get on a fly to Long Beach, and they get me in a hospital, get me stabilized, and then fly me to Sacramento, where my brother Bob had a new neurosurgeon lined up. So Dr. Cobb does my second brain surgery. And the first hole they drilled was way in the back of my head. And you got to get this tube right to the middle of my brain in these little cavities are called ventricles. But Cobb told my brother, this isn't a good place to be able to get it in there, but he didn't want to traumatize me anymore and drill a new hole. So they put the shunt in the original spot. 10, 12 hours later, my brother Bob gets a phone call. This is Sutter Memorial Hospital. Your brother George is going into a coma, is in a coma. We think your family should get down here immediately. They rush down. They take me into a third brain surgery, give me last rites. Now I'm 23 years old. Okay. No memory, like I said, the next year and a half, whatever it is. So when I finally get my memory back, now I didn't even think about going back to the 49. I have no idea what I did for a year and a half. My brother clued me on some of the crazy things I did. So my first recollection when my memory comes back, here's hospital bills. I'm like, oh, hey, please bill San Francisco 49ers. And even with my diminished memory, I wrote it so many times. I still remember their freaking address. I'd write on it, please bill San Francisco 49ers, 711 Nevada Street, Redwood City. Send it back to the Niners. And I would get it from them a week or so later, the same bill. All they would write on was, you owe this amount and circle the total. Not even a freaking, hey, Visk, sorry to hear you're back in the hospital. I fight creditors for years. Now, keep in mind, when I was a 6th-round pick in 80, I signed for the whopping, I had a $15,000 signing bonus, of which I cleared 10, And my first year's salary was $35,000. My second year, I was making really good money at $65,000. So it wasn't like, we were putting a lot of bank away and you're good to go for, a few years. So that year and a half, I guess, I was out of it. And so I'm living just in a cheap little apartment. All of a sudden I got creditors on me for whatever it was, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm battling these guys. I'm working as a laborer for my brother's construction company. He general contractor and did real high-end custom remodels. So it was just him, one other carpenter, and me. And I mean, I started at the bottom. I was making $12 an hour for him, and I was bouncing at nights for $10 an hour, just trying to survive. And I'm fighting off creditors. So finally, in 1985, and I hired so then the first attorneys that I went to, I had an attorney friend who kept coming to me going, George, where are they at? I said, oh, they're giving me this another 2 weeks, 5 weeks. I got meetings. And my attorney friend is saying, George, there's a statute of this that you're getting close. But he didn't want to butt in. You know what I mean? It wasn't like. And so finally, these attorneys, the NFLPA sent me to let my statute of limitations run out. So now I'm shit out of luck. I've got I've got bills on me for, creditors on me. My statute of limitations have run out. I go to another attorney, and finally we're able to, it was medical malpractice statute. That was it. So I go to a work comp attorney. We finally win my case in either 85 or 86. And I had no idea at the time I was the first NFL player to ever won a work comp case. And from my understanding, I was the only one till 2010 from what I'd been told. I mean, I was the only guy. So we go in and we're battling, and it came down to 3 judges ruled on it. And one said, yes, we think it was work related. The other one said, no, I don't think it was. And the third judge says, I really can't tell. It was that close to me losing my case, and I have no idea where I'd be now, because I had 6 more brain surgeries after that. So I win my case. They offer me $35,000. And tell me if I'm rambling on too long. I don't know how much time we got. So I'll
got plenty of time, George. Keep going.
Okay, because I'll get yakking. This is known as the story, And so they offered me $35,000 to settle, and I told them where to put it. And I said, I want what every injured employee has earned. I want my past medical paid, and thank you, God. I said, I want my future medical left open. And I said, I can no longer function as an employee of the 49ers. I don't call myself a player. I said I was an employee. They are obliged by law through vocational rehab to retrain me in a field of work where I make a comparable amount of money. I said, all I want to do is just finish my biology degree. I was a biology major at Colorado, but I hadn't graduated yet before I got drafted. I only had 4 years there. So, it's big back and forth, and they agree. Okay, yeah. So I enroll at Sacramento State University. I'm living in Sac in 1986, and I had 4 more semesters of chemistry, 2 of physics left, 2 of pre-calc. I go back to school in 86, and in one 10-month period, I have 5 more emergency brain surgeries, several grand mal seizures, developed dyslexia, major short-term memory issues. Took me 5 more years to graduate. I was 32 years old when I finished my biology degree after 8 brain surgeries and became a wildlife biologist. Those were my 2 dreams as a kid. I wanted to be the greatest NFL player that ever lived, and I wanted to be a biologist. So 90, I graduate, started work as a wildlife biologist. In 93, that shunt blew out. I had my 9th brain surgery. Oh, and then during that time, I jumped. So in 84, I had to have 2 more surgeries on my knee, repairing what Dr. Doom screwed up, including I had a Gore-Tex ACL transplant. So 93, I have my 9th brain surgery. I go back to work as a wildlife biologist. I went on, I taught high school for 2.5 years. I taught biology, chemistry, environmental studies, and English language learners, algebra, and taught football. And coached football a couple years with my brothers. And then I went on and founded the Visger Group, environmental consulting, in 2010. And then things were just heating up, and I'm starting reading about more and more guys that I played against. And I started the Visger Group Traumatic Brain Injury Consulting, because by the grace of God, I function incredibly well, but I've done a lot of non-pharmaceutical treatments. Luckily, early on, in the early 80s, I got into real high dose omega-3 fish oils, not knowing they were good for my brain. I heard they were good for lowering cholesterol. And I was a skinny kid when I decided to play in the NFL. In Pee Wee Pop Warner, my nickname was Clang, because I was so knock-kneed. The coaches said they could hear my knees clanging from clear across the field. And I started lifting weights, and I was eating 6 or 8 raw eggs every night and a milkshake with bananas. So after lifting for 3 years, and I mean religiously, I get into high school. My high school, Amos Alonzo Stagg High, was a 3-year school. So I get into Stagg in my sophomore year, and I'm 6'2", 148 after 3 years of lifting. So you can imagine what I was like in Pop Warner. But there was no doubt I was going to make it. And I kept pounding the weights and hitting the milkshakes and raw eggs, put on 55 pounds between my sophomore and junior, and I just kept working. I worked my way into – my dad drove a beer truck and raised 6 of us in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000-square-foot home. I wanted to go to college, play in the NFL. Folks weren't going to be able to pay, so I knew I was going to need to earn a scholarship. I was a good student. And so I worked my ass off, and all of a sudden now, I'm being thrown to the wolves. And so, again, I lose my train of thought. I'll get off on these little tangents and tell stories. But so where was I again? I think the work comp case we had won, right?
Yeah, you already went through that. You were about 2010 when you're starting to see all.
Okay. Got it. So in 2009 or 10, this was a turning point in my life. Jean Marie Laskus of GQ magazine wrote an article, The Game Brain, and it was on the first 24 brains that Dr. Bennett O'Malley studied, first 24 NFL brains, and 23 had CTE. Now, if you guys saw the movie Concussion with Will Smith, okay, and so as soon as that was based on Bennett's. So as soon as this article, and I tell people, as you can tell, I don't read GQ magazine, but one of my Colorado teammates I was working late one night, and he sent me this link. Hey, you need to check out this article. So I printed it. By the time I went to get it, it was out of print. So I printed it one night and I copied it. I still have that article in my computer folder. I'm reading it that night, and I'm underlining stuff, and I'm freaking livid. It starts off with when he did the first study on Mike Webster. Webster was like, when I was a kid growing up, the Steelers were the guys. And, Pee Wee Pop Warner, we were black and gold and like the Steelers. And Webster was my idol. And I lined up over him when I was with the Jets. We played those guys in preseason. And then to read how he died using a stun gun on his head, couldn't find. And I'm reading story after story, guys I played against, guys I knew. And I'm livid. And I get done with this story that night. I'm thinking, I got to find this Dr. O'Malley. Well, he was in Pittsburgh when the article was written. I track him down. Again, God has had his hand on me so many times in this journey. I track him down. He is now the head coroner pathologist for San Joaquin County in Lodi. Lodi High was our rivals in high school. He's 40 minutes from my office. I get online. I find his phone number. I call him. I get his voicemail. Yes, and he has a real strong Nigerian accent. And he says, yes, this is Dr. O'Malley. Please leave him. And this is how he leaves his message. And remember, God loves you. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy isn't going to be one of these freaking paid whores. And I leave this message. Dr. O'Malley, my name's George Visger. I've had 9 brain surgeries, blah, blah, blah. We need to talk. He calls me back about an hour later. He says, I'd love to meet with you, but I'm speaking at UC Davis Medical Center tonight. 15 minutes from my office. I go, what time are you going to be done? He goes, I won't be done until like 7:30, 8, whatever. I don't remember. I said, I'll see you in the lobby at 8:35. We go to dinner that night. We're bouncing stories back and forth till midnight about what they did, they were just ripping him to shreds, and back and forth. And at one point, Bennett looks at me and he says, why did they attack Dr. Omalu? And I said, I'll tell you, I'll give you 9 billion reasons why, which is what they grossed at you. I said, you're their worst freaking nightmare. You're opening up a can of worms that they don't want people to know about because their industry is killing their employees. And Bennett and I have been very close. If you Google Visger Bennett, you'll see we have presented together at conferences over the years. Bennett wrote a acknowledgement or whatever it is from my book that's coming out. That's a story. So we have been in our fight to bring awareness for years. And so finally, let me think. So I settled my case. I didn't close it. In 2014, this woman from Brain, Sue Reeb, God bless her, another one of the angels. She's this feisty her daughter reads an article about me. And Brain, she founded Brain. It stands for Brain Rehabilitation and Injury Network. And she founded it because she had a daughter that was brain damaged at birth, not the one that told her about the article. And Sue could never find help. Her daughter fell through the cracks. So Sue said, we'll do it ourselves. And her husband, Jerry, is a pastor at a big church down there. Well, they built the big church. And so Sue, they work with people for free. So she calls me up, and we laugh about this to this day because she read the article, and it talks about how I don't remember things unless I write it down. She said she called, introduced herself. George, my name's Sue Reeb, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, yeah, okay, great. Next day, she calls me up. Hi, George, my name is Sue Reeb. Introduced herself. By the third or fourth day, she calls me. She said, I finally remembered. I go, okay, I know who you are. And she said, I called you one more day just to make sure. So then Sue hooks me up with this work comp attorney, Chris Asvar, down in Southern Cal. Now, this is like 2014. I won my case back in 85, whenever it was, but I hadn't settled. So Chris looks into it, and he goes, he wants to try to reopen it. Now we're battling not just the NFL, but the $26 billion Travelers Insurance Company. And he battles and gets my case reopened. From 2000, and I'd never had treatment. I've never had a minute of treatment. I had brain surgery. I walk out of the hospital. You're on your own, Visk. Go back to work, whatever you do to survive. And so he battles to get me into treatment. 30 days of in-house treatment at Center for Neuroskills down in Bakersfield, which was like 5 or 6 hours from my family. By now, I'm married. I'm living up in Grass Valley, a little mountain town. I've got 3 kids. Just my wife's Christy. My wife at the time, school teacher. So he gets me to Center for Neuro. We win a hearing. They appeal. 5 months later, we win the appeal. They do a second appeal. 6 months after that, we win. So it takes like 17 months. I do 30 days at Center for Neuroskills. Now I'm like my mid-50s. They said, oh my gosh, Mr. Visger is showing amazing improvement. We recommend 90 days. Here's another 17, 18-month atomic legal battle. Had to win another case. I'm in another hearing, appeal. They take me to the California Court of Appeals, unheard of in work comp. They try to keep me out. They go clear to the California Court of Appeals. I do 90 days at Center for Neuroskills in Emeryville now. It's closer to my family. Again, showing great improvement. They recommend a year. Now, I'm away from my family this whole time. Another year and a half of battle, appeal, California Court. I do a year there. After a year, now I'm, 57, 60, I don't know. That finally brings the Travelers to the table to try to settle. Now, prior to that, you go back to 2011, after that article came out on Bennett Omalu, he had a buddy back in Pittsburgh, Jason Lukasevich, who's an attorney for a big firm back there. And Jason was just a soldier. Jason convinced his firm to look into filing a brain injury lawsuit against the NFL. I'm the 22nd named player there's over 20,000 guys in that suit. I'm one of 7. They flew back to the press club in Washington, D.C. when he unveiled the case. So that went through the whole courts in 2017, whenever it was. I think it was settled. Now, I've been homeless for years. We lost our home in 2011. When I'm not living at Center for Neuro Skills, I spent 2.5 years on the floor at a hyperbaric clinic in Sacramento where a guy was treating me. The travelers quit paying. I call him Brother Mike. Mike Greenhall, who owned the clinic, treated me for another 2.5 years, let me sleep there, gave me gas money when I needed to go see my son. I mean, I'm destitute. My kids and family had to move an hour out of Grass Valley to Sacramento. They were living with grandma in a 2 or 3 bedroom home, kids sleeping on air beds. It was a nightmare. So Chris Asvar reopens my case. We win. Now we finally go into a mediation hearing. Oh, and then, so the NFL work comp suit was won like in 17, I believe. Now I'm going to get this the way they had it set up was crazy, but I was going to get 20% of what I qualified for because they only gave me 1 year credit in the brain injury suit. You needed 5 to be vested, even though you only need 4 to be vested in the NFL. Even though the average career is only 3.2, so I played 2 years in the NFL, but the year I had 3 brain surgeries didn't count in the NFL brain injury lawsuit because I was injured in preseason. So I was going to get 1/5, so 20% of what I qualified for, but still it was going to be able to get my family back in a home. Within a week of being approved, the travelers swoop in like the freaking vultures that they are. They file a $615,000 lien on my NFL settlement, more than I was even going to get. They want me to pay them back for all my injuries. So when we go to this mediation hearing in 2019, we're going to try to remove the lien from my NFL settlement and settle my NFL knee surgery and brain surgery once and for all. So Jason Lukasevich, another one of my angels and my warriors, man, he flies out from Pittsburgh with another attorney partner of his, Chris Asvar, my work comp freaking warrior. These are my guys. So before a mediation hearing, they try to settle to avoid going to a full-blown jury trial. Okay. So the way it works is both sides, you get a list of judges, you get to go through them, decide who. So they pick this judge. So the travelers, the $26.2 billion travelers, send their top 7 freaking corporate big dogs down to fight little old nobody me. Judge comes in, and I'm in one little room with my attorneys, and down the hall, the travelers in some big room. Judge comes in the morning, goes like this, okay, who's Mr. Visger? I said, I am, Your Honor. He says, what do we got going on? Because he knows nothing about the case. I said, well, Your Honor, I said, 38 years ago, I was a 22-year-old employee of the 49ers. I said I had 3 brain surgeries in 8 months. I had 9 brain surgeries in the next 12 years. And I said, and I'm still trying to get my freaking bills paid. And he goes, that's immoral. I said, thank you, Your Honor. So he goes down to the traveler's room with my attorneys. They're down there an hour or two. They come back with okay, this is what they offered. We kick it around back. So it's going back and forth. 5:30 that night, 8 hours into this craziness, here's the traveler's offer. They come in, the judge slides me a piece of paper. Now they want me to pay them $700,000. And I lost my mind. I jumped out of now I'd already lost everything. I lost my business, my home, my kids. I looked at the judge. I said, F you. I said, screw them. I said, I'm walking. I said, we're going to trial. I said, I'll go down to home, kick their ass, and give them brain damage. I said, let them fight me. I said, we'll fight another 38 years. And I'm screaming, and you're not screaming, but I'm going off, and the judge is going, no, don't let all of our hard work fall apart. So while I'm just ranting and raving on the table, and I'm one side of this big conference table, and they came in from the other. On the table, before we went in, here's a piece of paper, and before we went in, we had a private life care, a private company write a life care plan for me, and it was based on 22.2 years of life expectancy for Mr. Visger. He'll probably have, 4 more brains, whatever it was, 5 more brain surgeries, 3 more knees. They plug all these numbers in. My anti-seizure meds, I have grand mal seizures from this stuff for 40 years. They plug all this information in. So that was our counter, and me living in a facility for 22 years. So it was 8 digits, was our offer. So, but on top of the front page, it says Mr. Visger continues to require residency within a structured settlement such as Center for Neural Skills to ensure his safety and the safety of others. It says Mr. Visger shows, episodes of confusion, anger, and threatens people and is at risk of arrest and incarceration. So I underlined those lines and I wrote in the column, and he said he wants to beat the shit out of all of you. I threw it to the judge. I said, go read that to him. He says, I can't. I said, you effing read it. I said, or I'm walking. He goes, are you serious? I said, read it. He goes down the hall with my attorneys. Now, this is 8.5 hours into it. They want me to pay them $700. He comes back an hour later, and they freaking folded their tent to the tune of 7 figures. And they will push people to the very freaking brink. I said, I'll kick their ass, throw me in jail. I said, I'll have a roof over my head and 3 squares a day. I said, I've lost everything that I care about. I don't even care. They will push you to that. And that's when we settled our case. October of 19, the judge told him, you will release his money immediately. November, no money. December, no money. Now I'm calling my claims adjuster, who I've called a million times over the years. January, February, March. Finally, I scribbled a letter in pencil, intentionally in pencil. And I write, if my check isn't in the mail this week, I'm taking my brain damaged NFL defensive tackle ass. I'm driving 2.5 hours to your office in Walnut Creek. I said, I'm going to find you. I'm going to grab you by the scruff of the neck. I'll put a pin in your hand. I'll find the check. You will sign them. A few days later, I get a phone call from the Travelers. Mr. Visger, this is so-and-so, legal counsel for the Travelers, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get, do a threatening letter. And I said, it wasn't threatening. Anyway, I convinced them that they would be better off sending. So they finally, it was April or May when they finally started to pay. Pushed me and pushed me and pushed. And the judge said, there's a non-disclosure on this. When I settled, I said, you know what? They can kiss my butt. I started on a book back in 2011. Didn't even start as a book just because I could never remember stuff. Every time I went to see a doctor, I started putting down my injuries and, we won the championship. And so I had like 40 pages. And so I had a book. I said, my book's coming out. I said, I won't put numbers in what we settled for. But I said, you tell them. I said, they want to frickin' sue me. I said, bring it on. I said, I'll fight another 38 years. I said, people are going to know what these giant corporations do to their employees. And so the book was printed. The limited editions were printed not long ago, and now the general edition's coming out hopefully soon. We've had all kinds of problems with the publisher. It's been a nightmare. I had 4 phone calls today from people that haven't received their book they paid for 2 years ago.
Yeah, we'll get into the stuff of your book. I want to give both Marvin and Ben a chance to kind of.
Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We want you to get to kind of get that out there to so everyone can hear about it. Both Ben and Marvin get a chance to kind of go back and forth with you a little bit. I'll start off with Marvin on this one. What are your thoughts on George's road to this point, Marv?
So really, the question that I have for you, George, and I mean, you've really endured a lot, more than most, I will say, even though there are many people, many former players who are dealing with injuries from the game. George, do you blame the game? Do you regret playing the game? Do you have negative thoughts toward the game? Because I've heard players say they regret this. Honestly, I have mixed feelings about hearing that, but I'm also not going through what a lot of guys have gone through. Can you speak to that, please?
You know what? The only thing I regret is what it did to my family. I will tell you, I have a gentleman sitting right to my right I'm doing this in my bedroom up in Little Emmett, Idaho. This gentleman sitting to my right is one of my Colorado teammates from almost 50 years ago. One of our other teammates had a stroke a few years ago and ended up moving 30 minutes from me. So Pat Dunn drove out from Seattle yesterday to spend last night and tonight with me and Brian McCabe, because Brian's struggling and he's driving back tomorrow. Things like that, the brotherhood, the love we had, that makes it worthwhile. My family took a beating, but I can give you, I'll give you some of the blessings I've had from my brain injury. So way back in 90, I was going, I'd graduated finally, but I was really struggling and stuff was going on. So finally in 93, we battled, and the Travelers, one of my neurosurgeons said, hey, every time I talk to him, I'm so frustrated, man, I'm afraid I'm going to kill somebody. Someone cuts me off in a grocery store. I'm like, he goes, you need to join a gym. So we got the Travelers to pay for my gym. While I'm at the gym, I meet the most gorgeous little blonde-haired, blue-eyed, curly-headed 2-year-old with her beautiful mom, Christy. I meet little Stephanie. I fall in love with both of them. We get married. So and then we end up having 2 amazing more kids. So because of my brain injury, now that marriage fell apart due to everything I was dealing with later on, but we're all still, very loving. Because of my brain injury, I met Christy, and I have the 3 greatest kids you could ever imagine. I'm so proud of these guys. They went through hell. They were homeless for years, basically. Then, fast forward, gosh darn it. Wow. Isn't this crazy?
Where you at, buddy? Where you at?
I'm trying to remember where I met Jennifer, my wife.
In Oakland, at the gym, right?
What was I doing there?
You're working out. Didn't you meet at the gym? Weren't you going into the
Yeah,
gym?
but I was living there. Was I always living there?
Yeah, you were living at there.
Okay, so fast forward to, this was when I did the year. Sorry for the brain fart. So when I'm doing my year at Center for Neural Skills in the Bay Area, I join another gym, and I meet Jennifer, who's just the most amazing person I've ever met in my life, my partner. We end up getting married. And I've been so blessed. I've had 2 great women in my life. Christy's amazing. I have great kids because of my injury. I have an incredible partner because of my injury. None of this would have happened had I not been brain damaged. So, there's been a lot of blessings from it. People took some damage, but you know what? God has a plan for all of us. And sometimes you got to go through the fire a little bit to come out stronger on the other side. So
are you able to watch football and enjoy it?
You know what? For years, when I first got out, I freaking hated it. I never watched a game for years. I freaking hated it. And then every now and then I'd watch bits and pieces. Like right now, I couldn't even tell you who won the Super Bowl last year because I really don't care. But I'll watch, if I do watch a game now, I watch it like I was watching game films. Someone can come in the room and go, hey, who's winning? I go, I don't know. I go, but that defensive tackle just split a double team and freaking pursued and made a hell of a tackle on the sidelines, And so, but I really got back into my old buffs. I mean, I have an amazing group. Let me tell you a quick story. I'll keep it quick. So in 2010 or 11, when we were losing the house, I lost my business, struggling. I mean, one of my old Colorado teammates from the 70s, Matt Miller, who was All-American offensive tackle, academic All-American, played 6 years with Cleveland. He had a degree in geology. While he's in the NFL, he gets a master's in physics, PhD in aeronautical engineering, He's been teaching aeronautical engineering at Cornell for freaking 30 something, still there. So in 2010 or 11, we're losing the house. Everything's crumbling. I get a letter from Miller. Hadn't talked to him in years. Or I would see him at alumni games. He goes, Visk, and I just lost my job. A long story there. He goes, Visk, the boys heard you took a shot. And he says, I guess here at Cornell, and this is exactly how he wrote it. He goes, I guess we're world famous for honeybee research, and I guess the way it works, the workers go out and get all this pollen and shit and come back to the hive. He goes, and they're covered with crap and wings beat up, and the drones meet him at the door. He says they clean them off, they fix their wings. He says, and they feed these guys the most potent honey in the hive because they know if the workers die, the hive dies. He goes, the boys heard you took a shot, meaning I lost my job. He goes, we started the Bee and Buff Honor Fund. He goes, here's $9,000. We got your next few house payments covered. He goes, this is how it works. When guys are doing good, we plunk it in this fund, and it's for anyone that needs it. And you don't ever pay it back. You've already paid your dues. Just get back on your feet. We love you. That's what football has done for me.
Absolutely.
A lifetime brotherhood like Pat Dunn sitting right here, who drove here from Seattle yesterday because another one of our brothers is struggling with not only a brain damage from a stroke, he has a degenerative lung disease. He's on oxygen 24/7 now. Pat goes, I'm coming out. Drives out yesterday. I'm telling you, I have a group of guys that there's probably 12 or 15 of us that not a day goes by. I'll have multiple texts right now. Guys checking in, what's going on, how you doing? 50 years later, So those are things that you can't even put a value on.
Right. And I get that. So I know, with in regards to the NFLPA, I'm the secretary here for the Atlanta chapter. Been fortunate to be around a lot of guys that probably played with you, Dwayne McClain, Bobby Howard, Edgar Fields, around that same time. They lead our group here. But the thing about the PA and the benefits is, nowadays you're vested at 3 seasons. Okay. Yeah. And if you play 3 seasons, then they have quite a bit of services and there's opportunities for people in regards to health, mental health, and everything else. At 2 years, you get something. At 1 year, and I'm in over 3 years, I'm a 1 year guy. But even at 1 year, there are certain benefits that I get that I appreciate. My wife appreciates. Are you in contact with the NFLPA? Or do you have a rep? Yeah. Okay.
I haven't been in decades, probably.
And you played 4. Did you get 4 or 5 years vested? Did you say?
Oh no! I played 2 years. I had brain surgery my second year, so that didn't count. So I only have 1 year.
Okay, so me and you were in the same boat. You were a little bit earlier. I hear a lot of guys just with regret about playing the game. And like I said, I haven't walked their shoes, so it's hard for me to judge them based on them saying how they don't, they wish they never played. But George, a part of me feels like we know that the human body isn't made for football. Like we knew it in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. We knew that. You know what I'm saying? And this is my last question before I give it to Ben. So with everything that you've been through and you consider, what the game has done for you before you went through the injuries, do you regret playing football? Would you, if you had to do it over again, would you have played football, as silly as that may sound?
You know what, I would. And years ago, I would have said, no, hell no. But you know what, where I'm at now, and I do brain injury talks all over the country, recovery, and also do motivational talks. And one of the things I tell people, if you stay on the path, my path was, I thought I was on the path playing the NFL. God said, crack me on the head, brain surgery. Okay, I get back. I'm going to do this. Crack. 9 times he hit me on the head with brain surgeries till he got my attention. It's like, I tell people, if you stay on the path, you do everything you're supposed to do and you know what, you'll be knocked to your knees, but you got to get back up. At some point in time, you'll stand on that trail and look back on that path, and you'll thank God for everything that happened, because you wouldn't be standing where you are right now, and now it's worthwhile. It took decades for it to be worthwhile to me. Once I settled, it was nothing about money, but once I settled, my kids were all paying their own way. I was able to put my two youngest kids through school. Amanda gave the commencement speech at Sacramento State a couple years ago. My son Jack just finished a degree in environmental technology. Is beyond my kids are all good people. They never asked for anything, but you know what? I was able to help out my family. And so, you know, I would. It's been a crazy journey, but God has his hand, and I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm just getting started. We're going to hit the ground running when this book is finally released. And what I'm doing now is I'm telling anybody that posts a link to my book on their websites, high schools, whatever, I'll donate 50% of the profits to their group or a brain injury recovery group of their choice. My book is all about educating, encouraging, and empowering people. The 3 E's. That's my business model. And so, you know, it's just my story. Some of it, you know, sure, there's some, you know, I got thrown to the wolves, but my story ends miraculously. It's not this screw the NFL, you know what? It is what it is. It's the journey God put me on, and I'm thankful now. I mean, I have met the greatest people in my life on this journey because of my injury. You know, I mean, Bennett O'Malo is a great close friend of mine. Just some wonderful people, you know. But I will say this: I never let my son play.
Really?
Yeah, and he was 9. He heard. So get this. So I played on the very first Pee Wee Pop Warner team Stockton, California ever had. The 1970 West Stockton Bear Cubs. 11 years old, 29 kids on the team. 3 of us signed NFL contracts in 1980. And our safety, if you're a baseball fan, was Von Hayes, who went on the Major League Baseball All-Star career for many years. So we had 4 future professional athletes on a little band of pipsqueaks. First 5 games I ever played in, we scored like 251 points for opponent 0. I'm like, oh man, I love this shit. You know, let's go. I played on Hall of Fame high school team. Amazing team, you know. We had, and the stuff we went through, we nicknamed ourselves the family, my junior. We had murders on the team. We lost guys. We had 17 guys from 1 parent or 0 parent households. In fact, one of my 0 parent households, Mark Davis, came to me several years ago, just tough as nails. He and his brother Matt was telling me his brain was effed up. But I said, hey, brother, this is what I've done. June 2nd of last year, I'm standing in Silver Creek, Idaho, fly fishing with Brian McCabe, my brain-damaged Colorado teammate. I get a phone call from Mark Davis. Hey, Marky, how you doing, brother? I hear this strange voice. No, George, this is his son, Sean. I'd never met Sean. He says, my dad hasn't been answering the phone the last couple of days. I came over here. He killed himself. He's sitting in the recliner. He has his phone in his hand trying to call you. Jason Harrison, if you guys see Kuiu, Kuiu, apparel around, a huge outdoor apparel hunting gear company. Okay. Jason came to me. He was a hunting buddy of mine. He founded Sitka Gear. He played 1 year on the Niners practice squad and 1 year on the Broncos practice squad in the mid-90s. Went on and founded Sitka Gear, built it a multi-million-dollar business, founded Kuiu, grossed $50 million his last year. 2 years before he killed himself, he called me up and told me he took a shotgun to bed with him one night. That's 2 kids, right? I got him lined out getting hyperbaric oxygen treatments. 2-3 years later, while I'm living at Center for Neuroskills, one of my nephews called, said, Uncle George, Jason took a shotgun to bed with him last night with his kids in the house and blew his brains out. He's acting crazy. His 11-year-old son, Cash, calls his mom. Mom, Dad's acting weird. She puts him on. She says, put him on the phone. Honey, what are you doing? You're scaring the kid. You're scaring the kid. Doesn't say a word. Hands the phone to his son. Walks upstairs. She hears the shotgun go off. She tells the kids, run next door. I've lost several guys. We've lost, I think, 3 of our old Colorado Buffs to suicide. Some of them were tested for CT and some weren't. Most of them weren't. So when my son heard all the stories of me playing, when he was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13, we did a 3-day neurocog evaluation at Dr. Amon's clinic way back when. We walk out of it and Doc's going, it's a miracle you even function, the amount of brain damage you have. And I kept telling my son, I said, you're not playing Pop Warner. My worst concussion was in Pop Warner. I was knocked unconscious and hospitalized my 3rd year in Pop Warner in a stupid bowling ring drill. You know, you have the worst coaches coaching the most vulnerable kids, you know. And so I said, you're not playing until you get in high school. As we're walking out of Amon's clinic after 3 days, my wife, Chris, at times says, Jack will never play football. Of course, he looks up at me. I said, Bud, I can't argue with your mom. I said, you will, whatever you put your mind to, I said, you're going to be great. I said, because you have it. You have that Visger drive. You will do whatever it takes to be successful. I said, you don't need to beat your brains up. The kid played 4 sports in high school, scholar, athlete, you know, just finished the degree, and his brain's intact, you know. So I know things have changed, but the bottom line, Marvin, just like you said, the human body wasn't meant to play football, period.
Yeah, especially at the collegiate and NFL level. You know, but, you know, when you said you had a concussion at 9, I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, usually 9-year-old tackle football looks like powder puff. You know, they just push
it. It was my 3rd year Pop Warner, so I was in 9th grade.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
But still, and I was young for my age. I was 17 when I went off to Colorado as a freshman, you know. So I was, I don't know, 13, maybe 12, something like that. You know, young, too young to be. And they say the earlier you're concussed, the lower your threshold is for concussions. So I never had a surgery 12 years of football, but I had multitudes of concussions. But other than that one, I never missed a play because of one. Right. I played a game in college at Colorado against Oregon one year. I had my only interception I ever had. I carried the ball twice in 12 years of football. I caught 1 pass in Pee Wee Pop Warner. I had an interception against Oregon, a couple of sacks, player of the week. I don't even remember the game. I was knocked out early in the game. They helped me off the field. I came back in, never missed a play after that. You know? So I had a history of concussions, but again, never missed time on them, you know? I tell people, and people go, why'd you keep playing? I go, when you have a concussion, you're the last one to know. I mean, you're gone. Someone has to tell hey, get him out of here, you know? So.
Okay, let's pick someone up to get a few questions in.
No, I was gonna say, you know, George, just sitting here listening to you. I mean, your book is called Facing Giants, My 38-Year Battle. When did you realize you was a giant yourself? Because to face one, you got to become one.
You know, thank you. I never thought about that, but I've just considered myself a guy. You know, my parents had great folks, a great family life. We didn't have much, but I mean, we were taught character, integrity, you know, and stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves. The old man always told us that, you know. And so to me, this is just like the Travelers, the NFL. They were like these giant bullies that just stomp on people. When they're done with you, they throw you off the sidelines, and there's 1,000 guys looking for your job. They don't give a damn, and it's wrong. I mean, it wasn't even about. It was just they were wrong, and they got away with it for years. And I'm like, no. You know, you beat me this time, I'll keep coming back. I've beaten the Travelers in 5 work comp hearings, 8 appeals, and 3 California Court of Appeals over the years to just get my bills paid and get into doctor-prescribed treatments. They're like, Visger's still, not only is he still alive, he's still functioning high enough to fight us, you know? So.
But that's saying a lot, though. I mean, just sitting here listening to your story, I mean, what a lot of former players don't understand when they leave the game, whether they retire from the game or they get retired from the game, is they're going to have ailments. You're going to have, you know, some type of things. And the one thing big corporations use is time. They try to get you to lose energy, enthusiasm over time. When did you realize, with everything you've been through, I will not bow out? Because them appeals process, they get 60 days, they're gonna appeal on the 60th day. Or they're gonna switch the court. Sorry, Your Honor, we got to switch this court date. Or something happened. One of my when did George? When did you realize that I'm not gonna let them use time against me?
You know, I never was going to give up, but you know, back in I don't know, early 2010, 11, something like that, I discovered a blog, Dave Pear, who played several years in the NFL, all-pro defensive tackle. He had this blog going on. I had no idea that there was anyone else out there like me. I mean, guys that were discarded. I thought I was just this anomaly, right? And so we have a saying, the NFL's motto is delay, deny, and hope they die. That's how they operate. Kick the can down the road, make it as hard as possible for a guy to access his earned benefits, and they'll ultimately quit. And even if only 10% of the guys quit, that's several $1 million a year they're pocketing that should be going out to benefits. You know, I mean, and that's their business model. You know, so I don't know. I just felt, and I felt like. There's several things that, you know, God gives crosses to those who can bear them. And I truly believe that he gave me this cross to do good with it. And that's exactly what we're doing with it. You know, like I said, I've spoken all over the country. I was the California Brain Injury Association's Traumatic Brain Injury Survivor Volunteer of the Year 1 year. I've received award. I've spoken at Senate hearings, congressional hearings, to help push youth sports concussion bills through. And I just feel this is what God wants me to do, and I love it. I love empowering people, you know, and I love pissing off the big corporations.
So your legacy is one that I heard you just say something that I agree with. My you and my father are the same age. My dad would always say, he would say getting older is inevitable. Getting old is a choice. He tells me and my brother that. And he always, and just listen to you say, I'm just getting started. So if they couldn't deal with you back then, what the hell are they gonna do with you now?
You know what? I love your dad's saying. Now you got to text that to me because I've already forgotten. I did usually. I live out of these. I'm writing notes constantly. I have 40-something years of these things. Every day of my life, I have to write down who called, where I'm at. But I love that saying. Again, what did you ask me a question after that?
I said if they couldn't deal with you. These corporations, the travels, they couldn't deal with you back. What are they gonna do with you now?
They can't. I mean, we are just getting started. When this book comes out, and there's been, like I said, some trouble with the publisher, but when we hit the ground running and get back out doing my talks all over the country and empowering people, they're going to be. I tell everybody, if I die someday with like an anchovy stuck in my throat or something crazy, look to the NFL or the Travelers, because they want to quiet me down. You know, they don't want me talking. You know,
now,
or a banana stuck in my ear with a suicide note. You know,
I did want to give you a chance to talk about your book and what's going on with that. So I did pull up the thing here. There was the little thing that you had up on your thing, the facing giants thing. But unfortunately, as you were alluding to, you've been having problems with the publisher, and you made a post yesterday. I want to kind of give it a chance to kind of go over a little bit of this. Obviously, you've been trying for, what you said, 18 months now, to get things going. People have ordered the book about your damn near 40-year-old battle going along with the NFL from all different aspects. And reason why I want to bring this up, obviously, with the issues you're having is Ben. Ben has actually had a book published, and so if you have any more issues on that end, man, please feel free to reach out to Ben. Maybe we can help push that can a little bit along the line, so you're not running into any more roadblocks.
Well, Jennifer and I, my wife has been re-editing. It's a long story. They published 200 of these limited edition that people paid like $43 for, and it was full of mistakes, edits, horrible. My wife just spent almost 400 hours re-editing it, putting
Is he frozen?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think he is.
I'll tell you what, man, this guy has a lot of information, a lot of perspective, doesn't he?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I wanted to bring George on is because when I was just doing the little background check on it, I'm like, this is a rabbit hole on itself. I think he probably having.
Somebody gonna snatch this. This is more than just a story you read. It's gonna have to be a story that you're gonna have to look at on TV, look at it, in a movie, because this is a lot. And
movie, man, this is a movie.
It is. It's a free series. And the thing about this is, he's gonna be 68 years old. I mean, that many brain surgeries, surviving those things. You talk about litigation, you talk about appeals process, going to court, losing your family, losing your home, losing your health, losing your mind, and here he is still. So yeah, his resiliency is something you could definitely get behind. I mean, a guy like that, he ain't scared of much. You think telling him, did you just threaten somebody? I ain't threatening you. That's a promise. I didn't threaten anybody. So
sorry about it, guys. I lost you for the last couple minutes there.
Oh no, it was just about a minute or so. But like we said, technology loves us, my friend.
Got it. And I'll tell you what I did. I brought my computer and I never plugged it in. The battery died on me.
Oh man. So, but yeah, dude, I know you got a lot of stuff going on with the book and everything like that, but like I said, if you're having any more issues, like, dude, reach out, dude. We have no problems helping you out and helping you get this information out. And I don't know if you heard, us as you were talking, as you froze up there, but I mean, this is way more of a story than I thought it was. As I brought you on, you deserve more than a book, my friend. This is this is what we used to call them, ABC movies. This is one of those.
It's a Netflix special. This is a series. And the thing about it is too, George. I mean, I know you sitting here on our platform right now, and get somebody to help you start a podcast, just so you can talk about your experiences. And because what it does is it gets your thoughts out there. Yeah. And you have a producer, you have somebody, because you represent more people than you know, sir. You represent a lot of people. When you said they denied, I mean they delay, deny, and hope you die. That's their business model. They hope you quit. You know how many people that's never been in your situation that said, yeah, man, I was this close to getting my settlement, but I got sick of it. Or I was this close to winning, I got sick of it. Just hearing you talk about the fact that most corporations know they got money and time, two things we don't have. And you told them, yeah, well, I'm gonna make you use both. I'm gonna make you come to see me. You're not gonna delay. You're gonna delay me. You ain't gonna deny me. So just listening to you talk about the resiliency that goes to look when you're going up against You're going up against a giant. You better develop some type of mentality because they're going to push every button you got. They're going to piss everything you have that could be pissed off or pissed on, or however you want to call it. Yeah. I just want to tell you, man, I am proud of the fact that people like yourself exist because when somebody say, because most of the time, like you said, that 10% that's going to quit, the millions, you come to them saying no. You telling judges, no. You telling these people saying, look, man, y'all don't know my life, and I know I'm one person in this big world. But hey, man, in the Bible it talks about one can lead 1,000, two can lead 10,000. So I'm just happy at the fact that George, you didn't give up and give in. You are a football player at heart, which means we ain't wrapped too tight in the mind, concussion or not. So I don't know who they thought they was dealing with. Be like, look, man, I played for the Buffs and I played in the NFL. I won the Super Bowl, even though I was there for a year. If I could look, you had to deal with Marvin's daddy. That boy, let me tell you something. If you can halfway deal with that, I can deal with the Travelers. I can deal with y'all. I don't like y'all, but I ain't going nowhere. So I appreciate you just never giving up, never giving in, never say die, because I believe you standing in front of these crowds. God is giving you an incredible story that continues to live on. Hey, and who knows? Had you become the player you become, you probably would have went off into the sunset, never to be heard from again. But because of this, you reinventing yourself every single day, sir. So keep writing on them cards. Make sure you plug in your computer that way it don't go dead on you. And listen, from one player to another player, I admire you, sir. I admire what you're doing and how you're doing. And when I tell my dad that I spoke to my dad be saying 58 was the year. He'll say, boy, 58 was the year. That's the year my dad was born.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I just want to let you know I am encouraged. And I'm very, very, humbled to hear your story, because you talk about me, this brain surgery, that brain surgery. You telling Mr. Walsh, secretary, I know who he is, and all these different things. I love the fact that they told you no, and you told them not yet. You telling me no? No. I got people that even your partner that's sitting there next to you, man. I'm inspired by people like y'all, man, because it's always bigger than the money, always.
I appreciate your words, brother. I truly do, man. And you've been there. You guys have been there. So, you know what I'm talking about. First of all, it's a brotherhood. Football is unlike any other sport. We've all played. You don't get that bond because you don't see guys go through stuff that we go through, And anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
George, you were there in New York in '80. Yeah. So you were there before the defensive lineman in New York became the New York Sack Exchange. Is that correct?
Well, they were there. They became, so Gastineau was in, Marty Lyon. I mean, that's who I was competing against. So I come into camp. Okay, and I, as a skinny kid, I worked my way up, man. I was like 275 by then. I was benching 460. I ran a 4.9, which wasn't blazing, but was decent speed, So I'm thinking, all right, man, I got my stuff together. I come into camp, and my oldest brother, both my older brothers played college ball, and one went on and coached for 20-something years. I come into camp, and I knew who Joe Klecko was. Marty Lyons was their first-round pick the year before. Abdul Salam. This guy, this unknown guy, comes in, and he's 6'5", 282, and runs a 4.40, and he's like 12% body fat. I'd never heard of Gastineau, right? I'm like, I'm thinking if this is a backup in the NFL, holy cow. So those guys, the very next year, I believe, is when they became the New York Sack Exchange. They were some monsters, man. Yeah. Klecko especially.
Now, in '80, was Richard Todd the quarterback back then?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Richard Todd was there. Let me try to think. Wesley Walker. Lamb Jones, he was also first round pick. I'll tell you a great story about Lamb. So here he's first round pick out of Texas, big bucks. He shows up. You know what he bought with his bonus? He had a Volkswagen van. And he told me, yeah, Visco's, I like to camp and stuff. So I figured, man, I'd have a place to sleep sometimes. And he made the largest donation at the time, one of the largest private donations to Special Olympics when he signed his contract. Quality guy, quality guy,
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't even know how long he lasted, truthfully. I really, didn't follow it. But, there were some crazy stories. Man.
Let me ask you this. As a Colorado Buffalo alum, what are your thoughts on Coach Sanders, just his impact, and how do you see his future?
I knew you were going to ask that. So when he first came in, a bunch of us were like going, how is this going to work? Hollywood Sanders in Boulder, Colorado. Tell you what, man, the guy brought some discipline. Last year, and I don't even remember how they did last year. They didn't do very well, did they?
No.
And I've paddled, clue me in. But I know his first year or so, he brought some discipline. I saw a little video, one clip where they're working out in the weight room, and one of their big stud linemen come in, and he's got the wrong colored socks on, and he threw his butt out. And he said, "When you can dress like the team, you can come back." And then he's had some big alumni groups. That first year there, they invited.
Always back. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably 200 alums that were invited back for a game. And what's crazy is my team, like my Orange Bowl team, that group of guys, we had the largest showing of any group. I mean, we had 30-something guys, probably 30-something guys just from my team alone. So we had a really tight group. But so he brought the alum back in, got guys fired up again. What was their record last year? I know they
weren't good, but I still think his biggest impact hasn't even been on the field. It's been in the classrooms.
I agree.
Players had the highest GPA of any school run program like that.
I totally agree, and that's where it's at. See, he holds these guys accountable. Like I said, I think he's doing a great job.
George, you might want to mention financially, he saved the program. He saved Colorado Athletics.
So my teammate here, Pat Dunn, says I might want to mention that he saved the program.
With all his eyeballs on it.
Yep. With everybody watching, everyone, you know what I mean? He saved the program.
It's sold out for 3 years now.
Yep.
Every game.
Sold out for 3 years, Pat says. So, no, I think he's doing a great job. And like any team, you're going to have, and especially now, how in the hell do you build a team with this portal thing now? You know what I mean? I mean, you're getting a kid's butt and the next day he leaves and plans for someone else. Yeah,
it's a different day. It's coming together. They're putting policies in place that make the kids, honor the contract and limit the transfer portal. It's new. It's a new thing. So with anything new, you're going to have issues and pick it up to see how it plays out. But we're seeing now the issues, and trust me, there will be legislation because at the end of the day, these athletic directors and these presidents aren't going to mess this money up. They want to keep getting that money in, and they're completely fine giving the players their 20%, and it'll be business as usual. But they're going to ironed out. And I agree with you regarding Prime and his impact. It's definitely gone beyond it's definitely on the field financially, but off the field as well. This has been a positive situation for the University of Colorado, regardless of what people say.
100%. We all guys. Yep. Yeah. We agree 100%.
Yeah.
He helps. You know what? Thing is, anyone can play football, and anyone can teach football, coach football. You know what? You got guys you can mold at that age still. You know what I mean? You can teach them. Some of them may not have been taught character growing up. I was, but I mean, some of them haven't.
Yeah.
And you know what? And he's teaching guys a lot more than just football.
Hey, listen, we all know, me, you, Ben, and Steve's a football fan. He knows football has saved many, many, many kids' lives. Many, many kids. I'm talking about kids who just played, Pop One or high school. You know what I'm saying? Forget college or pro. Football and the impact of a football coach and leadership and team and discipline that has saved a lot of kids. A lot of kids.
If we got a couple more minutes, I'll tell you a great story on that. So when I was at Colorado, we had a defensive lineman that came in a year ahead of me by the name of Reuben Vaughn. Okay. We played for Coach Mallory at first. My senior year was a year they brought in Chuck Fairbanks, that whole fiasco. just ran the program into dirt. So we had a defensive tackle by the name of Reuben Vaughn. He and I were the defensive tackles. Mallory, he grew up in Watts. Okay, Mallory, we had to sit down with Mallory once years later, and I was going because Rube was just out of control when he was at CU, and coming in to a very white Boulder, coming from Watts. You know what I mean? Trying to mesh with all that stuff. He has turned into the most beautiful, loving guy, family man. He'll send me daily. I'll get a little thing like a bird flying. People may think this is stupid. Hey, Vis, just thinking of you, wishing you love today, brother. Coach Mallory told me when they went to recruit him in Watts, he played at Jordan High School. They get this address. He and one of the other coaches. They drive up to a burnout apartment complex with a chain on the front door. This is the address for Reuben Vaughn. He says they knock, and this is Coach Mallory telling me this probably at one of our Orange Bowl reunions, probably 20 years ago. He says they knocked on the door. Someone pushes the door half open. What the hell do you want? Coach says, we're here. We want to talk to Reuben Vaughn. What do you want him for? The guy goes, he's around the back. So Coach said they walked around burnout cars, back of the apartment complex. Here is a plywood shack Reuben built for himself. He lived on his own his last 3 years of high school. Mm-hmm. A plywood shack. Coach said when they knocked on the door and stepped in, he said it was immaculate. The few things he had, he said there was a pipe with his 3 shirts hanging. He had an extra pair of shoes. I mean, immaculate. That guy took care of himself. He, like I said, he has turned in. He worked his way through. He signed with he was actually drafted by the Niners the year before I got there in the 5th round. And so when I come in, they're all going, yo, man, hey, are you Repo Rube's homie? And I go, Repo Rube? Well, he just didn't have any. So before he got drafted, he bought a Cadillac, a bunch of bling, thinking he's going real high, 5th round pick. So he gets his car repossessed during practice one day, right? And so they nicknamed him. And but then he ended up getting married and beautiful kids, and he's been a trainer for years, and just a beautiful soul. When we see each other, we go back to those to the reunions and stuff. He is a highlight, So football, he says, I would have been dead a year after high school. He goes, had Mallory not gotten me out of there.
Right.
It has saved a lot of lives. And you know what? It's a great game. The money has has tarnished a lot of it. But the brotherhood is the name of the game. And the fact that you got to set goals and bust your butt to get somewhere, whether a team or an individual.
Right. As an alum of the school, you have quite a few players who have not yet made the Colorado Buffalo Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor, but Shedeur Sanders has. What are your thoughts on that?
Is Brock in it?
No, we played with a bunch of guys who are All-Americans that aren't in there.
We play. Okay, I roomed with Stan Brock my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. All-American, 12th overall pick, played 12 years with the Saints, another 3 with –
15 years.
Played 15 years, okay? He's not in it. His brother Pete – so get this. So Pete was an All-American the year before we got there. Same thing, 12th overall pick in 76. He played 12 years, I think, with the Patriots.
In the Ring of Honor, the Patriots, yeah.
He's in the Ring of Honor. That's with the Patriots. And get this. May 1st, a bunch of us are flying back to Boulder. Pete Brock is graduating at age 72. And a bunch of us were going back to support him. But he's not in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, okay.
Come on, man. These are quality people. Right. Stan Brock went on and coached at Army. He's done a bunch of stuff. So, I don't know what it takes to get in there, but I told Stan he can have my spot.
I'll tell you what, George, man. I took a recruiting trip to Colorado when Rick Neuheisel was hired as the head coach. I went out there. It was beautiful. I had a hard time. Beautiful, man. I ain't gonna lie. It was beautiful. this is a time in the mid 90s when a lot of California kids were going to Colorado.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. And, went on my recruiting trip, had the time of my life. This is back in the 90s when they was doing it right on them trips. And, I was trying to be Johnny B. Good, and they did their best to help me get there. And But no, man, CU is beautiful, great campus, and just the scene. If you haven't been out there,
the Flatirons right there, right off the stadium, the mountains.
Yeah, it was nice, man.
And I'm an avid hunter, outdoorsman, fisherman, and all that. And so I was going to major in oceanography, being a biologist and playing the NFL. That was my dream. And the time I was a little kid, I wanted to be the next Jacques Cousteau. So I took recruiting trips to University of Washington, great school of oceanography, University of Hawaii, great school of oceanography. When I signed to Colorado, the first words out of my old man's mouth were, "What the hell kind of school of oceanography they have?" And I actually majored in fisheries biology there. But wherever I went, my number one priority was I wanted to hunt and fish. I wanted cold weather because growing up in Stockton, 112, 114 degrees during the summer, we had no air conditioning in our home. And my two brothers and I lived in a one-car garage that my dad converted into a bedroom, and they didn't insulate it. And they glued linoleum right to the slab. So the bedroom was probably, if it was 110 during the day, it cooled down to maybe 98 during that night, So I wanted cold weather, and I wanted hunting and fishing, and I wanted a good football program. Then I wanted a good biology program. But I was 17. That was my mindset. I go out to Colorado on my recruiting trip. I'm like, oh, this is it.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Well, as we get ready to wrap this one up, one more for Ben, one more for Marvin, and we'll let you enjoy the rest of your morning, my friend.
I appreciate you guys having me on, truly.
Oh, listen, dude, it's definitely our pleasure. Like I always say this when we do this, like we lend our platform out for you guys. I mean, we can talk on here and BS about every other little thing. Everyone has their own story, and I want to when I do these interviews and stuff like this, I want to make sure your guys' stories gets told too, because you don't always see some of these big podcasts or these big sports media companies do these type of things. So we want to do our part to make sure everyone is able to have the platform to tell their story. And
let me know how I can help you guys get stuff out. I love what you're doing, man.
Okay, Ben.
I mean, George, now we have you here for a couple more minutes. You talked about, your two wives, you talked about your kids. They're going to see this. There's so many people that has helped you throughout your journey. What would you say to them? Like, what would be your words to them?
You know what? You guys went through the fire. I love you all. My kids, we have a saying when I was growing up, Visger strong. I came up with that a long time ago. I said, you know what? We're Visgers, man. We just don't fold. Sometimes you lose, but not because you're not going 110%. My old man always should tell us, he goes, I don't care if you grow up to be a garbage man. He goes, you be the best damn garbage man there's ever been. So my kids are Visger strong. I'm proud of them. I still love Christy, my first wife. Get this, Christy and Jennifer, my wife, they FaceTime each other, tell each other how much they love and appreciate each other. Jennifer thanks Christy for the 3 greatest kids she could have. Christy thanks Jennifer for being the second mom to her kids. So I want to tell my family and some of the stuff I went through or did over the years that I caused problems. I had anger issues with my family for years, my own kids and stuff. I never touched them, but they were afraid of me for many years. But we've gone through the fire, and I'm just so damn proud of them. And I would say that to my kids. I would say to my warriors that fought my fights with me, Chris Asvar, Jason Lukasevich, guys are my heroes, man. They stood up to these giants, and I told them, I said, I will do whatever you guys want to go toe to toe. I said, I'm with you guys shoulder to shoulder, And then my Buff brothers have been so supportive of me. It's unbelievable, amazing blessings these guys all are. So God bless you all. I love you. And just God's got a plan for me, and I haven't even got started yet. I truly feel that.
Marvin, last one, brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, George, I'll be honest. Your story is important, and listen, just I'm thankful that you feel the need and have the desire to want to share your story, because your story is going to help other people. There are people who deal with similar issues, and just seeing how you've really come through it. You're at the point where you have accountability toward how this impacted you with your family, and people need to hear that kind of stuff, man. And trust me, what you're saying will help other people go through their journey 1,000%. And, just thankful for that. I can tell you that this is, you have absolutely been, if not the best, one of the best guests we've ever had. I think you have a full story. You have you have a full story, man. You have a real story, and there are a lot of narratives out there. And honestly, I'm happy to hear you say that you would have played football again, just because of the fact that, like I said, man, I haven't dealt with what you're dealing with, and if I did, maybe I would feel different. I'll be honest with you, man. But I do have issue with the game taking the beating that it has, especially since the Will Smith movie. With that, I'm thankful for your testimony, and I just wish you nothing but the very best. And I would also, last thing, I absolutely encourage you to call the NFLPA and just ask about what you're eligible for. I really mean that. I highly, highly encourage you to do that, because I'm 99% certain that there are benefits. Actually,
I can write that down and remind myself.
Yeah, there are benefits. As a player with one accredited season, there are still benefits that you're eligible for. And you also have you and I just reached out to you on social media. We became friends with you, I think, on Instagram. Pro Football. There's another group as well where you're eligible for benefits for. So we can communicate, through social media, but I would encourage you to call the NFLPA. And thank you again.
I will, man. I appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to share my story, because I know it can help people. What I've always said is, if nothing else comes out of my life,
I'm gonna make sure I give both Ben and Marvin your email and phone number, so you guys can kind of keep in contact as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need to get to, where are you guys located at?
I'm in Philly. These guys are down
We're
south.
in Georgia.
Okay. So my wife, Jennifer, who's a musician, music teacher, and all that, we're planning on hitting the road and visiting folks around the country. And get this up real quick. So my wife writes songs. So when I settle my case, and she plays jazz and some other stuff, but she wrote a song titled "Warrior, Drop Your Sword." Because for years I was always going, man, I'm sick of fighting. I want to drop my sword. And it has a quote in there from my hero, my 94-year-old mom, who passed holding my hand. It's the most beautiful song about my battle. And she sings this thing and records it. It's awesome. So I want to get a plug in. Jennifer Lee Sevison. You can go online, get some of her music. It's amazing.
Any final words before we let you go, George?
No, God bless you guys. You know what? Thank you.
It was definitely our pleasure. We definitely encourage anyone who hasn't reached out to try to grab a book, and anyone that this gets to and can help inspire, or anything of that nature. We hope it meant something. Glad that you enjoyed your time today, George. I'll definitely once this comes out, I'll share with you the clips and stuff like that, and tag you and all that.
We'll spread it all over. Hey, and one last thing: if you guys have anyone suffering, struggling with brain injury stuff, have them text me. This is what I do. I work with folks. I can get them lined out on non-pharmaceutical stuff that has helped me. So if you have anyone struggling, ball players, military vets, car accident victims, whatever, we love them all. We'll help them all. So
great message. Great time with you today, George. We'll be in touch, my friend. You enjoy.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to all stay in touch. This is good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You have a good one, my friend.
You too. Thanks, guys.
All right, everyone. That was George Visger. That was way more longer than I thought it was, but it was definitely worth the time letting George tell his story. It was very unique, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring George on, is to share that with everyone. You guys being former players and everything like that. Marvin, you're involved with the PI. I felt like there's something that you guys could have connected with and shared with, and hopefully we get to see a lot more George in the coming months, whatever, to help him get his book out, all that fun stuff. But your guys' overall thoughts on it, then I'm going to kind of trying to go through a handful of topics.
You go ahead, Marv.
Yeah, I mean, again, toward the end, I told him I thought he had a great story. And even with his memory issues, I thought he did a great job just putting together and giving us a picture as to what he's dealing with. I thought he was an outstanding guest. I think this really is like Ben said, a series. I said movie, and I look forward to connecting with him off camera. And it was good. It was real good.
What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, George is one of those type of people that, it shows why, once a player, always a player. Once a football player, always a football player. As far as your mentality, and like he said, man, I mean, he don't know how to quit. I mean, he got a great support system. I mean, great kids, great former teammates helping him. I'm looking forward to seeing him out there. Look, you get this man an opportunity to go to what he's overcome. The least we can do for him is make sure we push everything he's doing, because this man is an overcomer times 20. So yeah, we'll be rooting for him, we'll be watching him, and obviously we'll be supporting him.
Absolutely, book whatever comes. Obviously we're gonna do what we always do here on the Fan in the End South Florida Tribune and support what George is doing, what he's involving himself in, however we can involve ourselves in it. But they got one for you, for you, Marvin. I seen some reports coming out this week. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills are having their new stadium built, and there's been some reports that the Buffalo Bills front office do not want to put O.J. Simpson's name in the Ring of Honor. I have an issue with this. I know, and I'm pretty sure Marvin will too. OJ is arguably one of the best running back talents that during his time. I think during that era, I think he was the best. And then people want to continue to try to ruin that aspect of it about what happened after his playing career. If that's the case, then we got to remove a lot of people from the annals of history, because that not everyone went down the straight and narrow path at all points in time in their lives and careers, etc. Do you think the Buffalo Bills are taking this a little too far, trying to omit OJ from their new Ring of Honor in the new stadium?
Yeah, so in the day and age where we have the President of the United States, we have NFL owners, we have other heads of state listed on an Epstein pedophile list, and it's all good and nothing has happened, I think we can forget OJ. I think we can forgive OJ, who was acquitted of a very serious crime, and now we're talking about judging him based off public opinion. This guy was the face of the league. He's, if not the greatest, one of the greatest players in the history of the league, not just at the position. Okay. It is, the Buffalo Bills are a organization. They're like the Oregon Ducks. They have no championships. They're not really relevant when you want to talk about the history of greatness in the NFL. They've had great players, no doubt about it, but OJ is the best of them all. He's the greatest player in the history of the organization, period. All right. And he's probably the best running back in the history of New York pro sports. That's not even a question. So I think it's silly for the Bills to omit him, considering that he was not guilty of the crime that we all know he was alleged to have committed. Considering his impact to that city, he made Buffalo a relevant city in the 70s just with his play. It just hurts them. It hurts them. I think there are people who look at him and see a great player. I do. And if you want to, listen, as time goes on, we're finding more and more information about a lot of these owners, people, how they live their lives, and a lot of them people, I ain't gonna say that, but yeah, I think it's silly. I think it's unfortunate. That's my thoughts.
Ben.
Ridiculous to the highest degree. when you start letting public perception dictate, we're talking about contributions to this organization, right? Yeah, you want to talk about the Buffalo Bills and Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas ain't better than Juice, right? Now, I mean, when you get to talk about some really, really good Buffalo Bills players, the players that's in the Ring of Honor, they should say something. The Jim Kellys of the world, right? They should say something. They should say, hey, if you're not gonna put his name in, take my name down. What are we doing? Like, so let me get this straight. My personal life is dictating what I did on the field. That's what we're doing now. Because if we're gonna start doing that, a lot of names gonna come down. A lot of names ain't gonna go up. Buffalo, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because here's the thing. Because his public perception in the world, in just the regular world, coincided with his perception as an athlete, people couldn't separate it. The whole world called him Juice, even if they didn't watch him play football. But they saw him on that Hearst commercial, they saw him on Naked Gun, and all this stuff. But you talking about O.J. Simpson as a football player? Yeah, always one of the best to ever do.
I'll just say it like this: Aaron Brockovich said it best. You got two left feet in ugly bleeping shoes, and that's what the Buffalo Bills are doing right now. It's ridiculous. I don't care what your public perception of it is, even if you might feel like he's guilty. You know how many men has been involved in crimes of passion, and somehow some way or another they're not held to the standard that we try to hold our professional athletes. He was acquitted. That was the end of it for me. A lot of people felt like this or that happened, whatever. Like that's the way, we had to deal with that circus of how all of that played out. I just think it's a silly thing to do. As we're talking Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, they had some great players there, but I don't think any of them had the impact that Juice had, regardless of the post-career stuff. I don't think it's relevant. It's the same. It's the same thing that we get into conversations with a lot of these players. We try to find ways to tear them down, to diminish what they were and what they meant to their respective games. I've had enough of it. O.J. Simpson belongs in the Ring of Honor, regardless how you personally feel about his public perception at this time. I knew this was going to come up just because we're into week one into the baseball season, and this is the first year that we are going to have the ABS system in it, and it's already been very well involved, and there's comments coming all over the place. I'm going to pull up a couple little graphics, and then we'll kind of digest this, but I think the real problem with a lot of the umpires is this comment here. Richie Garcia, former umpire, I think it's embarrassing to the umpires calling the game. Nobody likes to be humiliated in front of 30, 40,000 people. Now, me and Marvin have already had conversations about this as well. Like, some of the stuff is like real millimeter type stuff. There's some gray areas type situations, and me and you, Ben, talked about this before we started on it. But like, there are situations where you're seeing like within 0.3 millimeters, you're getting things called. Now, this graphic happens to be C.J. Buckner. Now, Buckner has been the guy at the beginning of the season so far, who's been getting absolutely destroyed, and part of it is his own doing. Right? When you look at the list of guys that have already had calls, Buckner has already had 75% of his challenges overturned. There's a couple guys. This is 22 umpires that have had challenges, but Buckner is at the top of the list. And I don't know if you guys have seen this over the last day or so, but he did he had a first base call. It was either last night or the night before that was absolutely horrendous. He calls the player out. Jake Bowers did not step on the bag and was out. And here's two stills of it clearly on the bag. And I don't know if you guys can see how clearly this is, but Buckner is looking straight down the line. He's not even looking at the player. Now, this is probably one of the reasons why you see that the ABS system was put in, but in the replay system has been put in because of situations like this. Human error is going to happen. I don't think I want full robots, so to speak, doing balls and strike. But I think early on, I think we're seeing a good return on it being involved. I want to get your thoughts, Marvin, because obviously we talked about this. We don't like those inches calls that are barely outside of the strike zone being flipped over. But when you have a clear, egregious thing, you would like to have a system in place to call upon. What are your thoughts? The first week ABS system being involved in the regular season games.
Yeah, I think we're just at the very beginning of the ways that technology are going to impact everything, and sports is included in that. For 100 years, it's been the same thing. We accepted the fact that human error was part of the game. Sometimes that was good for you, sometimes that was bad for you. But I tell you like this, man, as these guys, as you're seeing betting increase, as you're seeing, ESPN and these sports outlets committed to all these betting sites, and you're realizing how important that is, and you wonder how that ties into MLB for real and their connection and relationship. When you look at the fact that, these games, I mean, it's tough to lose a game on a bad call. It's tough, man. When you put the time in and the working that you do. I think the reality is that we are going to be, Terminator. We're going to be RoboCop days. That all that's coming. All that's coming, man. That technology is coming. All the sci-fi stuff that we've seen on TV, we watched in the 80s and 90s, it's all coming. It's real. No, it is. We laughing, but I'm telling you.
As long as the Terminator ain't coming, and we're all good.
Right. Listen. Don't watch none of those alien documentaries on YouTube. It'll freak you out. Anyway, no, I think this is the new norm. I do. I think people should get used to it. People want accuracy in sports. They want the right call. There's a lot on the line for a lot of people in that stadium and at home. And I think this is the tip of the iceberg in how technology is going to impact sports.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Buckner had 6 straight calls that were bad calls. 6 straight in that one game. Obviously, I think he had I think there was 2 more and only one of them was right. So that's why he was at that 75% of his calls have been overturned when challenged. So Ben, you think that this is as Marvin says, it's just the beginning. We're going to see this kind of thing happening more and more, not just in baseball, but in other sports as well.
Yeah, because I think we live in a copycat world. These big time professional leagues, these owners, you don't have an owner strong enough to go against it. You're gonna have these big time teams like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, like the Astros, like the Cubs. They're gonna say, hey, these other teams that aren't either don't make enough money revenue wise or don't win enough games, they got to fall in line. But I don't like but using words like embarrassing and humiliating, that's subjective. If you don't want to be humiliated embarrassed, get the call right. Because if you're getting more of the calls right and you keep going to the system and the system is validating you, they will get rid of the system. But if the system keeps saying, you messing this up, you are validating, the technology. So yeah, I do agree with Marvin. Though. A lot of this stuff, look, if you live when it comes to sports, when it comes to anything that generates a lot of money, generates a lot of eyes, generates those type of things, yeah, technology is gonna do it because technology is supposed to be people proof. Now it's not, but you're trying to be able to have things on a more efficient level. So yeah, these umps knew it was coming. Now they replacement refs in the NFL, now that's different. Because you're trying to get technology to do that kind of stuff. I think that kind of stuff, that's a total different argument when you talk about getting those refs, the NFL become full-time employees, but that's another topic for another day.
Yeah,
Steven, the other thing is this. Why, and this is my problem with weak leadership and weak men, why does your ego and your feelings need to matter in getting this call right? Well, what do you mean it's embarrassing in front of 30,000 people? What are we talking about?
I totally agree. Anyone who's getting upset, oh, well, you're embarrassed. No, you embarrassed yourself by making the bad call. And here's the thing, just own it. Just own it. I made a mistake. I'm a human being. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep.
And what do we see over the past few years? I think the only thing I'm going to be glad about is that you're not going to see the umpire and the manager having full blown meltdowns on it and them just tossing guys, or batters having full blown meltdowns on it because they can't hold the umpire accountable. Now they just got to go do this and send it up top. Is it right? Is it wrong? Okay, it was the wrong call. That's now a ball. We can move on. If you're in your feelings about that, then you shouldn't be an umpire. You shouldn't be a referee. You shouldn't be involved in that. You should just own the situation. I made a good call. I made a bad call. I need to be better at this. I need to be better at that. If you're sitting there worried about being embarrassed in front of 30, 40, find another profession. Find another profession, dude. That's all I can really sit there and say about that. I know we're going to wind up getting into these umpires and referee and the referees in the NFL in the coming weeks, but with the ABS system involved here, are we going to see someone like the NBA kind of try to adopt a system like this for players to challenge calls, players flopping, not having travels called, this happening, that happened. Do you think the NBA is going to follow suit? Since Ben already said we're in a copycat league, do you see this moving over to other sports as well?
Me?
Oh, I know it is.
Yeah, start with Marvin.
Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, again, basketball is a different sport. So you would have, in baseball, you can think of obvious scenarios where technology can help. In football, you can think of, obvious scenarios where technology could help. Basketball is a fluid game, a little bit different. I think technology can help in basketball, maybe to a different degree, but it's coming, period. I mean, technology, people, fans, bettors, teams, they want to get these calls right. These calls are everything. It's just, think about the Tom Brady, game against against the Raiders, in the snow,
Yeah,
in the playoffs. Think about the Russell Wilson play in the end zone. He threw the deep ball in the end zone, and was it a catch? Was it an interception? There are, so you can think of scenarios where it makes sense. I think it impacts sports differently, but with so much money on the line, they want to get these calls right, and I get it. So that day is coming. Basketball as well.
I think it is coming. I think probably NBA will probably be the last ones because there's too many moving parts with it, and like you're saying, there's not obvious situations where it can help. But I do think it's one of those things that's inevitable. And as we're talking about basketball, let's mention the fact that the expansion has been approved. Seattle will be getting their franchise back, and I hope they're allowed to bring the Supersonics back and get that. I don't think that's going to be a real thing. I think there's too much red tape to happen around it. But now it's official. Las Vegas is going to have all four major sports. We go back 20, 25 years. Did we ever think there was going to be a possibility that Las Vegas was going to have baseball, basketball, hockey, and football? Start off with Ben on this one.
I would say yes, only because that's the betting capital of the world. And when you think about that, these cities saying to themselves, "Look, I don't got to be a good team to be a betting team. A lot of these teams are not good in professional sports. They're just there. I mean, I can name two with the Falcons, the Hawks. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, yes, the Vegas is saying we're just late to the party, right? It starts with, let's get these Raiders over here. Now we fit to get a basketball team, and don't think that they're already not thinking about having multiple owners, right? You're gonna have the majority owner, but a lot of minority owners, when you're talking about, look, I mean, my team is in Vegas already. You already got to go to Vegas or whatever that's where the money's going for us, like betting. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I do hope the Seattle Seahawks, Superstars do come back. Camp and Deadly Shrimp and what I'm saying, the club. But yeah, I like these. Listen, expanding two expansion teams. We can talk about basketball. You talk about we about to have professional. We talk about professional flag football teams, both men and women. Look. People want to get in on this sports thing, man. It's a way to make money for a long time because you got revenue shares, and the better your team get, the more you can, market them. But hey, yeah, I saw it being in Vegas and coming back to Seattle was a no-brainer.
Marvin, your thoughts on the NBA expansions?
Yeah, all right, more money, more money, more money. That's just what this is, that they just flexing their muscles, letting you know that they're increasing their market share. They're doing a phenomenal job in branding. This is not, the NBA is not about, they don't care about basketball. They care about making money, and they do it through basketball. This is how can we increase our market share? How can we increase our value? How can we make our owners even richer? How can we, that's all. These are the only things that really matter. Going to Vegas is genius, I think. Bringing back Seattle, which is definitely a sports town, is genius. It's intelligent. So, it doesn't surprise me. Basketball isn't really my main sport, but I follow it at a certain point, really more as we get into the playoffs and what March Madness has done and kind of get into the NBA, to be honest with you. But, I think it's a great move, and I look forward. I hate the fact that my man LeBron ain't gonna get that Vegas squad. I know he was petitioning for it. He was talking about being the owner in Vegas, and I wanted to see it happen. I wanted it to be him, but he got $100 million over there invested in Liverpool. He's doing his thing, man.
Yeah, he's straight. He's a billionaire right now.
For a reason. For a reason. Ben, we're gonna be there too. Don't worry. No stress. Listen. I'm gonna do a lot of things. Stress ain't one of them. So listen, I'm looking forward to being on that. Listen, that way we in the room saying y'all keep talking. We just in the back. We represent the common sense coalition. Ben, I'm pure American. I'm in it for the money. You know what I'm saying? I love this. Don't get me wrong. I love the game. I want to impact people, man. I'm in it for the money. I'm happy for the NBA. I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I really do hope the Seattle Supersonics will be back. That's kind of my main goal. So obviously, Seattle's now going to be back to being a 4-for-4 city, and they haven't ever been because they didn't have hockey for the longest time. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to Vegas again growing exponentially is insane. It really is. So, looking forward to all of it. As we're at the end of this one today. Obviously, I think this was one of our more insightful interviews that we've ever done here on the Fan in the End. When we get off of here, like I said, guys, I'll send you over George's information so we all can kind of keep. He's already sent me a text already telling me how great of a time he had. So, any final thoughts? Anything you guys got going on you want to share? Start this one off with Marvin.
Yeah. Final things I want to share. Listen, you can catch me on social media, y'all. Marvin Powell III, Marvin on the mic. You can catch me here every Wednesday, and just enjoying the show. Looking to see what these girls do in the NCAA tournament. I think South Carolina is the real deal. After they done blew up my Trojans by about 4 to something, I think Dawn Staley is not being talked about enough as just an elite coach, period, regardless of level or sport. Highly impressed with what she has going on. And with that said, I'm also putting my money on them, Michigan Wolverines, to finish that thing out as well.
I'm going to mention something. I agree with you on the Dawn Staley front. People don't realize that as she was still being a player, she was also a coach at the same time. People don't really give her enough credit. Point blank, period. We know who Dawn's. Oh, that's Deuce's little. That's Deuce's sister. But no, it should be the other way. Dawn Staley. Oh, Deuce Staley was your brother because she's surpassed him in so many different levels. And you're right, Marvin. She doesn't get the love and respect she deserves. But Ben, final thoughts? Anything you want to share, my friend?
The evil empire in college basketball, known as Duke, has been dethroned again. So we can get back to watching the Final Four and enjoy it. But to the Boozer sons, keep doing what y'all doing, man. Really, really love watching y'all play. But no, it's always fun. Another great one on the Fan in the End. Like I say every week, man, you come for the nuance. You come for the nonsense, but you stay because it makes sense, man. Another great.
Another fun one in the books. So let's put a bow in this one. Lot of fun, lot of good discussions, lot of information was shared today. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. You know, in the people who comment in the chat, people who are still listening us ramble along here. But this was another episode of The Fade in the End. I'm Steve. Down there's Marvin. That's Ben. We will catch you guys next week, my friends. Peace on out.